Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talk About Houses. I am Beetlejuice.
I am Lydia Deetz.
You are probably wondering where Todd and Juana are. We'll be replacing them because we have very important information about what heirs should know when they inherit a property.
Right. So, if you are an heir, this is not for you. This is the handbook for the recently deceased. Now, we know that you are alive because when I open this book, you cannot read anything.
There's nothing in it.
If you were recently deceased, this will be full of writing.
If you're recently deceased and watching this video, leave us a comment.
Absolutely.
Okay, now, so what we're going to do is we're going to go over all the things about what you should know about inheriting a house or your heirs to help your heirs out. Right, Lydia?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's start with, we're just going to jump right in it. We're going to do all the before stuff and then all the after stuff, and the thing in the middle is death. Now, this is not legal advice. This is general information. You must contact an attorney, probate attorney, or somebody else. But this will give you some good questions to go ask them.
Absolutely. And remember, this advice is from Beetlejuice and Lydia Deetz.
That's right. Todd and Juana are not here, as you can plainly see. Now, so let's start with this. Okay, first things first. Let's say you have a bank account, brokerage accounts, pensions accounts, etc. What should you do on those accounts prior to passing away?
So the first thing you need to do is make sure that everything has beneficiaries, because that facilitates the transfer of those assets from the person that has deceased to the heirs. This is super important. We cannot encourage you enough to have a trust. Trusts are wonderful because they avoid probate. Probate is messy, it's expensive, very expensive, and very time consuming. Most heirs don't know how to function with this. It costs them a lot of money. They have to hire attorneys. And let me give you a secret. The attorneys charge a whole lot more for the probate than what you would pay for a trust that eliminates probate. It's pretty cool stuff.
Okay, so everything either has beneficiary listed, and you usually just log into your thing and type the name in, and boom, and they automatically get it. And then everything else is title and a trust. What about personal belongings, like, a desk, a couch, a piano that you know?
Right. So personal property, that's outlined in a will. A will is generally attached to a living trust. Now, the will is for personal property. The living trust is for other assets, like larger assets, like we said. Maybe it's a brokerage account, real estate, big ticket items like that, as opposed to personal property, such as maybe a vehicle, a piano, mementos, other things like that.
Now, Lydia, if you had a trust and a will, you should lock those in the safe and make sure nobody can ever see them. Is that right?
No, because no one can access that safe and people don't know that they even exist.
Okay.
So the thing that you want to do is, if you want to keep them private, and a lot of people do, then let your heirs know which attorney to contact. Generally, the attorney that drafted the documents. And then they can contact that attorney. That attorney will say, yep, I've got it. Present me with a death certificate, and then I'll go ahead and release everything to you.
What about your utilities, brokerage accounts? How should you make it so your heirs can get into those?
Right, so this is very important. Make sure that you have all those passwords and logins available for somebody to log in. Now, I'm not asking you to necessarily have your logins for your brokerage account readily available, but simple things like your utilities or maybe your HOA, simple things like that, you might want to have those readily available where somebody can easily find them. Usually a kitchen address book is a good place to put them. And the reason that's important is because it allows your heirs to log in and change the billing information from you to them. The reason this is important is because once you die, the funeral home reports your death through Social Security, and then a lot of institutions are notified through that of your passing, and then your bank account is frozen if you do not have somebody else as a joint person on that bank account. So let me give you an example. When Beetlejuice died, if he would have had me as a joint person on the bank account, then that bank account would not have been frozen. But since Beetlejuice did not make any arrangements, Beetlejuice, his bank account was frozen, and then
there wasn't much in it, so it's okay.
Right. So the problem is that those bank accounts tend to be frozen, and then automatic payments such as utility bills don't get paid, and then you run into problems. Well, you don't, obviously, because you're dead, so you don't care. But it makes it easier for your heirs to be able to log in there and change the billing information from your bank account to theirs so they can keep going with the utilities.
What about copies of all your statements for your stuff?
So, what I would recommend is once a year, grab one statement and again, put it someplace that your heirs can easily get to. So that they've got account numbers. Those are really important because it makes it easier for them to contact those institutions and say, hey, Beetlejuice has died. Here's the account number. Here is the death certificate. We need to make sure that you go ahead and release those funds to the beneficiary.
I have died, but I still look fantastic.
You look fabulous.
Okay, you go to the funeral home and they notify Social Security and a bunch of other stuff. So what potentially, are there any downfall or bad things that could happen there?
Well, like I said, you're going to have some accounts that are going to be frozen because of that. Social Security is actually wonderful. They're very good about stopping payments if you're currently receiving payments so that your heirs will not have to return money. However, other pensions may not be notified. So if your account keeps getting deposits from pensions, then your heirs will have to notify them and possibly return that money if payments have been made after your death.
What about copies of death certificates?
So this is really interesting. It used to be that you needed lots and lots of copies of death certificates. Not so much anymore. A lot of institutions will accept scanned copies, which is very nice. And that makes it much less expensive. But it is much easier if you get copies of the death certificate ordered from the funeral home, and they will go ahead and have those death certificates Federal Express to you wherever you are. So if you are leaving town because you're not local, no problem. Just let them know where to send those copies of the death certificate, and they will arrive at your location via FedEx. They take usually about 2 weeks.
Pensions, retirement plans, all that will probably need copies of all that stuff.
They do. Most of them will accept, however, like I said, scanned copies or very good photocopies.
What about a vehicle? What if you have a vehicle? It's probably just titled in your name.
Right. So vehicles tend to be titled in people's names. So the DMV will help you out with that. All you need to do is let them know, and they have a couple forms for you to fill out, and you will retitle the vehicle usually either in the name of the estate or in the name of the heir, so then you can either keep the vehicle or you can sell it.
Let's talk about the house now. We're at the point where we have a house. We have one of two options. Mm-hmm. We can either keep it as a rental once we get title, mm-hmm. or we can sell it.
Right. So either way, I go back to that utility thing. Make sure that utilities stay on, very important.
Yeah, it can get pretty bad in there.
Yes. So whether you're going to keep it as a rental or you are going to sell it, the house will need to be free of personal property. That means empty out everything. Don't forget the garage, the basement, the attic, all those fun places. So free of all personal property. It will need to be cleaned. Now, after this, you'll have to decide, are you going to do any improvements or are you going to rent it or sell it in its present condition? That depends on you and it depends on the property. If you are going to sell the house, then you will need a few things. You will need a copy of the death certificate. You will need a copy of the trust or whatever document gives you authority over that property. So if you had to go through probate, you will have court documents that make you the executor or the trustee, however the court works. And those you will need in order to list the property for sale. And you will need those to provide to escrow in order for them to effectuate the sale of the property once you have an accepted offer.
Now, can you do this remotely or do you have to physically be there?
So this is really cool. You do not have to physically be there for anything. Most contracts can be signed via electronic signature, so DocuSign, AuthentiSign, something like that. And then any closing documents that need to be notarized, those can be signed remotely as well. If you are here in the US, the title company or escrow company will go ahead and send a mobile notary to you. Even if you're local, they'll provide a mobile notary if you don't want to come to their office or don't have time. If you are overseas, it gets a little more complicated. Depending on the title company, very few will do this. They will allow you to do it electronically over Skype or something like that, where they're verifying your identity through a video chat. Most of them will require that you make an appointment at the embassy, at the U.S. Embassy, wherever you are, in order to get documents signed. If that is the case, make that appointment well in advance. Some embassies are very busy, and it can take several months to get an appointment.
How about negotiating the offers? How do we do that? How do we sign stuff if they're not physically there?
So negotiating the offers, your agent will help you with that, either over the phone, over Skype, over FaceTime, over WhatsApp, whatever your preferred communication method is. And then all the documents, the offer, counteroffer, addendums, disclosures, all that good stuff gets to be signed over DocuSign, AuthentiSign, or some other electronic signature.
Okay, how do we do the seller's real property disclosure if I've never lived in the house, don't know anything about it? Can I waive it?
Okay,
in Nevada?
Great question. So in Nevada, there's actually a provision for that says something along the lines of, I've taken control of the property strictly for disposition purposes. I've never lived in the property. And that is an exemption. Now, what that means is that seller real property disclosure, you still have to fill it out the best of your knowledge, but you can actually leave portions of it blank as you just don't know. And you go ahead and you disclose that, what I call the essay portion. It's actually a blank sheet, which is on page 3, where you get to disclose things that you know about the property. Now, if a property has an HOA, you do know it has an HOA, so you do need to disclose that. If you're aware that the previous occupant that is deceased had certain renovations done, then you certainly have to mention that in the real property disclosure.
Are the fees normal? Are there any extra fees if you're selling as an heir versus a regular seller? And what about upfront fees? How do you deal with that? How do you pay the upfront fees if there are any?
Okay, so good question. There are no additional fees if you are the trustee, the executor, or whatever that you're dealing on behalf of an estate. As far as upfront fees, it's the regular upfront fees, and the regular upfront fees are HOA documents, so the resale package. If you have more than one HOA, then obviously it pertains to both of them, and the HOA demand. Generally, there are no other upfront fees except perhaps if the buyer is using a VA loan, perhaps the pest inspection, because on a VA loan, the buyer cannot pay for the pest inspection.
What if the buyer wants a bunch of repairs done?
Mm-hmm.
How does that work? Do you have to do them? Can you do some other thing?
So if the buyer wants a bunch of repairs done, then you discuss that with your agent. Generally speaking, we recommend that you offer credit to the buyer rather than doing actual repairs for a number of reasons. Number one, because if the buyer, for whatever reason, doesn't close, then the next buyer is going to want a whole different set of repairs. And number two, because this keeps you from having to have out-of-pocket expenses on the front end. By giving the buyer credit, that comes from the proceeds at the end, so you don't have that additional upfront cost.
What if the deceased, the recently deceased, what if the recently deceased had a loan on the house? Mm-hmm. Does that just get wiped out and you get to keep all the money from the house, or how does that work?
Absolutely not.
Oh. We tried.
If the recently deceased had a loan on the house, then the loan will be paid off from the proceeds. Now, what I want to mention, which is very important, a lot of people think that a reverse mortgage, pay attention here, that a reverse mortgage means that the bank gets the house. Absolutely not. A reverse mortgage wants the money, not the house.
Yeah.
With a reverse mortgage, you have 6 months from when the recently deceased died until the house has to be sold and they have to be made whole. So you do have time to get the house sold, but it does not mean that you should wait, because that is the maximum amount of time. So you do need to put the house on the market right away. You do need to get it sold so that you can make the loan whole. They do not want your house. That's not how reverse mortgages work.
Okay, how do they get paid? How does the money come at the closing?
So at closing, the heirs get paid however they have designated, either in the trust, if it's a trust, or how they have instructed escrow to pay. Escrow prefers that they wire the funds. If the funds are wired, then that takes 1 to 2 business days for the funds to arrive. Sometimes they arrive the same day, usually the next or the following day.
What should you do as soon as escrow, like you get the phone call that it's closed?
So as soon as it closes, make sure that you do the following. Number 1, go ahead and inform the homeowner's insurance that escrow has closed. You can usually they don't want a settlement statement. Your word is good enough, and they will go ahead and process a refund for whatever is left of the premium. Make sure that you give them the correct address. As far as the mortgage company, going back to if there's a loan on the property, go ahead and let them know where to send any funds that might be due. Usually you'll have an impound account, which is an account used to pay things like property taxes and things like that. And those impound accounts usually get dispersed about 6 weeks after the loan has been paid off. However, I encourage you to call them within a week or so after closing to make sure that they have the proper address where to send those funds. Next, make sure that you get the utilities out of your name. You don't want to continue paying those utilities.
Yep.
It doesn't make sense. A couple weeks down the road, here in Clark County, you want to go ahead and check with the sewer and the trash companies, because they pull their information from the county recorder. So you want to make sure that they have paid attention to that and that they have removed the recently deceased off the bill, and that they are now billing the new owner.
Okay, final thing, very last thing. Mm-hmm. If there are tax issues potentially, who should they talk to about tax issues?
Absolutely. Always talk to a tax professional, an accountant, a tax preparer, whomever you use. There are tax issues when it comes to recently deceased. For example, the recently deceased, even though they're deceased, they still have to file a tax return. So that's important. So do speak with a tax professional about that. And you may have to file 2 different tax returns, maybe one for the recently deceased and maybe one for the estate. You may even have to do it in separate years, because if the recently deceased died in 2023, but the house isn't sold until 2024, you may have to file tax returns for 2023 and 2024. So check with a tax professional about that.
Okay.
Oh, one more thing.
Oh, yep. Go ahead.
Very important. Very important. Pay attention. Very close attention. Please get an appraisal as soon as possible.
Especially if you're going to rent it long term.
Right. As soon as possible after the property, after the recently deceased has passed away, get an appraisal, because you need to establish the basis for the value of the property at the time that the recently deceased has passed. This is really important down the road when you go to sell the property, because now taxes will only be due on the difference between the value of the property at the time that the deceased person died and the new value. Otherwise, you're dealing with the value from when the recently deceased actually purchased it 50 years ago, and that's a much different tax bill.
Todd and Juana will return tomorrow, as they all very, they always are. Mm-hmm. So until then, Lydia, I will let you have the final word. Okay. So let us know what you think about this, if this is useful to you, if you would like other videos like this, if you would like us to return, if you're done with Todd and Juana and you just want Lydia Deetz and Beetlejuice to host the show from now on, let us know, and we'll make sure that Todd and Juana get the message. Otherwise, please remember to subscribe, hit the notification bell, like the video, share the video a lot, because we are amazing, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye. Bye.